Hello, everyone. Good morning. Happy Wednesday morning. Brian Lewis of the Spin Zone here. We're going to go through all the Premier League results over the last couple of days. And also, in a couple of other videos, I'm going to break down some news headlines, reacting, of course, to some news headlines. But let's get right into the nitty gritty of it. So, I am now a contributor for Fansided's The Top Flight. I'm going to start getting writing very soon once they give me the word to go. And it's going to be fun to go. But as far as from there, just going to be talking about the same Premier League stuff on here. It's just going to be in words now. So I'm excited for that. But as far as starting, we're going to start from Friday's game, Brighton and Southampton. Now, I expected Brighton to win this game. And they didn't. Southampton were able to get a point. And Brighton really dropped the ball. Remember, they were fifth. We were talking about them possibly catching up to the top four. And there's a reason why I didn't really have as much faith in them being a top four team as maybe perhaps a Villa last year, because it's not, they're not the same quality as Villa. It's they have talented players, but it's just, again, Brighton keep dropping points against teams like Southampton. That's not gonna help their cause. Now, of course, I believe Flynn Downs scored the tying goal in this game, which I remember. Yes, Flynn Downs scored the tying goal in this game after Matoma's first half goal. So really, dropped the ball there for Brighton. Just they needed to do better in that match, and they didn't. Brentford and Leicester. This was never going to be a good match for Leicester City. It was just not a good, like, Brentford right now. Whatever they're doing, whatever Thomas Frank is doing in terms of the attack right now. Shad scores a hat trick. Wisa and Mbuemo have been virtually unstoppable in the attack this season. And again, they just keep on going. And keep in mind, they have Fabio Cavallo, too, who hasn't even broken into the squad yet. So Brentford could easily get themselves into Europe if they keep playing in this form. No doubt about it. Crystal Palace and Newcastle was a draw. Nothing too notable in that game, just Newcastle dropping points. Bournemouth and Wolves, I expected this game to be high scoring. And this game is notable because Justin Kluivert, whose dad is Patrick Kluivert, the legendary Dutch striker, scored a hat trick in penalty kicks. I don't know. I don't know what to say about Premier League officiating these days, but it was interesting there in Molineux, of all places, too. And for Bournemouth, those are key points. They're going to be staying in that top half table chase. Next game, Nottingham and Ipswich. Now, Ipswich, as I said, Nottingham Forest have played really well. They play really, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. They wore Ipswich down, 1-0 win. That's how Nottingham are going to win a lot of games this season. And then Arsenal and West Ham, which we'll talk about West Ham in the next video with their possible managerial firing of Lopetegui, and how they could be possibly going after either Adon Terzic, Sergio Conceição, or the name I saw on the site I now write for, Fansided, of Max Allegri, which I think through The Guardian it was been reported, but they just set up a blog on it. So with Lopetegui getting fired, now that puts them in really tough water now. But 5 goals against Arsenal. Arsenal are really interesting. They're playing Manchester United next, which we'll talk about in the next video. A lot building up because there's a lot of pressure on Arteta. There may even be pressure from Arsenal fans for him to be maybe moved on from if they can't get at least a top 2 finish this year. I would think this is the year to win the Premier League if you're Arsenal. But as I said, Chelsea are in that same mold. And for Chelsea, like, Cole Palmer just continues to keep balling. So, that's the top 4 chase right now. And heading into the December 1st games, we'll talk about Chelsea first since I just mentioned them. Cole Palmer and company win 3-0 against Aston Villa. Aston Villa, them playing in the Champions League, they went and beat Bayern, but they're just not necessarily the team to have the depth to be able to sustain a European run the way that they have. Now, Cole Palmer is just continuously impressing everyone on both ends. And Enzo Maresca proved to be the right hire for Chelsea right now so far. They're in 3rd. And Villa have been descending. I think this is going to be a problem for Emery. Same problem that was when he was at Arsenal playing the European League. I just think the depth is not there. Now, Manchester United beating Everton 4-0. That's a good win for Ruben Amorim. That's a bad loss for Sean Dyche. Liverpool, Man City, 2-0 for Liverpool. It kind of hurts Man City. Everything we talked about with Man City to exhaustion, Rodri being hurt, they just don't have the depth. They have to figure out what to do. They might have to move John Stones up to that defensive midfielder position, which is something that I've talked about in numerous outlets, and I'm going to mention in the podcast that I'm in tonight with the 190 group with Kyle and Brian and them. That's going to be a fun collaboration. Looking forward to that. And one of the topics of conversation, of course, we'll probably talk about is Man City. Now, I feel moving John Stones to center defensive midfielder, having a Kanji and Kyle Walker, and just you have the depth at center back. I think what you need is to be able to get a little bit more pace on the wings. And I think with John Stones there, at least you have a central figure. He might not be able to do the passing that Rodri can do, but at least defensively, you'll have some kind of protection there. And then, of course, I don't want to forget Tottenham and Fulham. This was a 1-1 draw. And interestingly enough, for Fulham, they got Tom Kearney. Tom Kearney comes in. Tom Kearney's been there forever. And Fulham have had quite an impressive season. They're in the top half of the table. Bryce Johnson, the former Nottingham Forest star, scores for Tottenham in the 54th minute. But Tom Kearney comes in 67th minute. He gets a red card in the 83rd, which is just bonkers to me. Absolutely absurd. And then December 2nd, of course, there weren't any games. Yesterday, there were 2 games. The reason why I didn't publish any videos yesterday, because there were 2 games yesterday. And there were a lot of games today, which I'll preview some of the games today as well on this video. So Ipswich and Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace get a 1-0 win. That's 2 tough 1-0 losses for Ipswich. That's going to be tough for their relegation battle chase. And then Ruud van Nistelrooy getting his first win against West Ham. Now, West Ham, in the last 2 games, 8 goals, 3 allowed. No, they've allowed 8 goals and only scored 3. This could be the end of Lopetegui for all we know. But good for Ruud van Nistelrooy. Good. And again, I think for Leicester, they hired Enzo Maresca. They had Brandon Rodgers. They made some good hires. I think they need to get themselves out of that relegation zone scrap, if you will. And Jamie Vardy getting a goal is always a good time. Patson Daka. We had a sighting from Patson Daka. A player we expected a lot more from, at least some of us football manager people. And from there, there's going to be a lot of chatter, as I said, about Lopetegui. And, as I read from fan sided, the Van Nistelrooy result, Sergio Conceição, Ian Terzic, Max Allegri, the former Juventus coach, Erik ten Hag's been linked to RB Leipzig. So there's a lot of managerial moves. Which Ten Hag being a former Manchester United manager, now as a Leipzig fan myself, I can be a little bit more specific with Ten Hag. I don't want Ten Hag. I think Marco Rose is definitely not the right fit there. I kind of want Marco Silva from Fulham, low key, but Nagelsmann would be someone of that cleanse, if you will, would be the perfect fit for Leipzig. But like Erik ten Hag just. I don't know what you do with his Manchester United stay, because that's just it's not going to be a good legacy. Not a good legacy at all. There's a lot more things that could be accomplished with that. But, 31 shots for West Ham and they still lost. So, and you have players, again, this West Ham team still has players like Mikel Antonio, Crescenzo Somerville, Lucas Paqueta, Emerson, Jared Bowen, Nicholas Fulkrig. You have talented players. So obviously for West Ham, they need to be further than 14th. You can't be in the same zone as, Leicester City, who just came back in the Premier League 2 years ago. So that's kind of a problem. And for the Spaniard, that's probably going to be the end of him. Now, who for West Ham I think would be the best managerial fit? Now, let me tell you, as someone that is following Portuguese soccer for a long time, following these poor 2 teams that Sergio Conceição has, absolutely the hell, this is hilarious. I'm going to love this. This is going to be entertaining for sure. So we'll get into that in the next video with West Ham. That's just a little snippet. But now previewing the next game here today. So Newcastle and Liverpool. I'm going to go with Liverpool. They're on a tear. I don't think anything's going to stop them right now. Forest and City. I'm going to go with a draw in this one. I think City are going to manage to pull a draw. And Forest are going to need it. And they're coming off a win anyway. Chelsea, Southampton, I think this is going to be a big Chelsea win. I'm expecting 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, something along that lines. Everton and Wolves, I'm expecting a 1-1 draw, 2-2 draw, something along that line. Aston Villa and Brentford, I'm going to go with Brentford 2-1. Brentford are absolutely on fire. And maybe more goals from Visa and Mbuemo. And then Arsenal and United, this game's on at 3:15 today. It's at the Emirates. I don't trust Amorim's formation right now. I think having Dallo as the third center back is a problem. Never mind, Dallo's linked to Barcelona and Real Madrid, so he's linked to moves away as well. I'm going to go with Arsenal. I trust them more right now. I think it's going to be a 1-0 game. One of those like 2-0, 2-1 games. One of those. I'm not expecting too much result-wise here. Tomorrow, December 5th, Fulham and Brighton. I'm going to go with Fulham in the upset. And then Bournemouth and Tottenham. I'm gonna go with Tottenham. Although Ange Postecoglou has got to be on that on the tisk of being on the hot seat for sure if he doesn't get that win. December 6th, there'll be no games. Heading into Saturday, you have Everton and Liverpool. You have the Merseyside derby. I'm going to go with Liverpool again, although I wouldn't be surprised if Everton pull out a draw. This is the type of game that Sean Dyche can always pull out a result. The same way that Carlo Ancelotti was able to, but I think this Liverpool team's on another level right now. Aston Villa and Southampton, I'm going to go with Villa. I think Southampton are very bad. And I think for Villa, you're going to see hopefully some results because I think Unai Emery is going to have to start getting some pressure on him too. Brentford and Newcastle, I'm going to go with a draw in this one, probably like a 1-1, 2-2 draw. Crystal Palace, Man City, I'm going to go with Man City. I'm going to go 2-0. Crystal Palace have been a thorn on the side for Manchester United for quite some time. Man City, not such luck. That's at Selhurst Park, but I'm not seeing the correlation there. However, Man United and Forest at Old Trafford, I'm going to go with Amorim getting a win at against Nottingham Forest, against Nuno Espirito Santo. And then you go on to Sunday's games. Ipswich and Bournemouth. I'm going to go with Bournemouth. They're scoring a lot of. They're playing really well right now. Kepa will probably give up a goal in this one, but I mean, so be it. They'll probably score 2 or 3. Brighton and Leicester. I'm going to go with Ruud van Nistelrooy's Leicester Foxes for a victory at the King Power. Arsenal and Fulham. I'm going to go with Arsenal. They got to, again, if they're going to keep pace with this title chase with Liverpool, they got to keep winning. Spurs and Chelsea. I'm going to go with the tie here. I think Spurs are going to be inspired to get a tie at home at the new Hotspur Stadium. Now, on Monday, of course, you have the West Ham and Wolves result. Now, this is going to be interesting because I don't know if Lopetegui is going to make it to this match. Now, Lopetegui used to be the Wolves manager. So if Lopetegui's managing and he loses, this for sure will bring the sack, especially when you already have rumored candidates being mentioned, such as Terzic, Conceição, and the other fellow there, Allegri. So between all that, I think Wolves get the victory. I'm going to say that prediction because I think Lopetegui might get fired today or tomorrow. And if that's the case, then we'll have a refresh on the video. But I think Wolves will get the win anyway. And then that'll be it for this week's fixtures. There'll be more videos coming in. The next one's going to be discussing the West Ham debacle, if you will, because I have to explain what's going on at West Ham.